overall though, in general, I do think that songs about substances or substance references mostly come off as a bit lazy, and they're typically indicative of like a less coherent writer or writing style. So what I mean by that when I say like less coherent, it's that artists who throw lots and lots of drug references in their songs, or who specifically write songs about drugs, they typically aren't the types of artists who focus on things like the theme of the song or the story of the song or the purpose or like a deeper thematic value. Before everyone crucifies me, I actually think that MGK is a bit of an exception to this. I just did a breakdown on Vampire Diaries, which was, funnily enough, written 100% by him. And it was great. Like, well, it was a good song, but it had a strong theme that he portrayed very well. It had a good song structure, and like the verse structures and everything elevated and escalated the story and moved the story forward. So I don't want it to seem like me critiquing drug references. It's like I'm just writing artists off. They don't think about their songs, right? But I mean more about like when you look at some of these new rappers, their lyrics are just full of it. And this has always been a thing in rap music in general, rock music too, of course. But that's the difference to me. That's the difference between a band like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses had songs about drugs, but they had a lot of times their songs actually weren't about drugs. They were about like love and their passions and situations that they've been in, right? It wasn't always drugs. And I think that that's why Guns N' Roses, to me, has stood the test of time much better than Motley Crue has, at least in terms of their musical longevity. I find myself going back to Guns N' Roses much more, and I think when you look at songs like Estranged or November Rain or Locomotive or Coma, like those songs really stand out. And I don't think a band like Motley Crue, which was all about like substances and abuse and those things, they I don't think that they're capable of writing a song like that, a big 9-minute epic like that. I know they wrote, was it Home Sweet Home, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. So yeah, when you look at a lot of these artists though, their lyrics are just full of it. Talking about like weed, lean, Molly, Xans, Adderall, alcohol, all of it, right? Like it's almost like they can't even write a song without mentioning it. Like that's just all they know how to write. And in fact, a lot of the songs, it's not even that they can't mention it. It's like that's actually what they write about. They actually write about being fucked up on something, right? So to me, at some point, I have to ask, like, why do they do this? Like, what's up with this? And if I had to give a reason, I believe it's well, if I just gotta be honest, it's because a shallow artist will typically write about shallow topics. And those shallow topics are what appeal to baser human sensibilities. And this is like, the sex sells and that type of thing, right? Like sex and sensation and emotion and oh, I took this drug and it expanded my mind without me having to do any work, right? And so when we talk about these like baser things, right, we're talking about things that like animals can experience. And an animal can take a drug and get high. If you've ever seen those clips of like the chihuahuas that are drooling, but animals have strong emotions and sex and all of that. And so it's like that type of music appeals to those sensibilities because we are evolved from animals, but the difference is, and the difference in quality that I'm referring to with this whole conversation is that we are actually evolved past animals. We have the power of rationality. And I think that that's where you get the deeper songwriting and deeper songwriters. And in fact, when you look at deeper songwriters, and I'm talking about maybe like y'all might hate me for this, but like Metallica or Avenged Sevenfold or these bands that are way, have much more longevity, or like maybe an Eminem, right? When he talks about drugs, he actually talks about how much he hates them now. If you go listen to his song Never Love Again off of Music to Be Murdered By, it's like he doesn't like drugs. And so in a lot of his songs, he might make a reference here or there, but Eminem is notoriously sober at this point, and he still has plenty to write about, right? So the point that I'm making is that I think that songwriters that have a little bit more depth to them and that want to write something more timeless or meaningful they typically don't go for things like drug references because those are just temporary experiences, right? So yeah, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people who focus on things like drugs in their songs, they tend to have the mentality that taking that substance is a form of expanding their mind and expanding their, you know, horizons, so to speak. But I personally don't agree. I think that when you look at humans and how we actually are, we actually expand our mind through rational pursuits. We expand our mind through learning things, learning a skill, playing an instrument, creating art, you know, learning a trade, basically doing the things that set us apart from other creatures, right? So